bride recently reached out because she was looking for an artist that specialized in Hollywood waves. She searched high and low and she found me. And she told me finding me was like finding a needle in a haystack. And then she saw my pricing. And I asked her a couple questions. She told me she'd done a lot of research and only expected to pay $350 for bridal hair and makeup, like tops. And that really made me sit back and question myself and my pricing. And I was thinking, why do so many brides expect wedding hair and makeup to cost salon prices? So where does that $150, $350 range, where does that even come from? Like, why do so many brides think that their wedding look should cost the same as when they go in for a full highlight or a balayage? Like, is the wedding tax a real thing? And I could speak from both sides, actually from all three sides. The bride side, the bridal artist side, and the salon artist side, because I've been in all three. And let's sit back and let's compare what actually happens when you go into a salon appointment, whether it be to get your hair done or your makeup done. Because you go in, you chit-chat about what you want, you get your service done, and you leave. You don't do that with me. That's not what happens with a good wedding hair and makeup artist. Like, at all. Because if that's what y'all expect, no wonder y'all hate us seeing what we charge. I would too! Because it's hard to see the value in that. And when you book us for a wedding, that starts with the initial inquiry, then the consultation, and then the booking. You get through the emails, all the planning, coordinating with your different vendors, your planner, your hair artist, or your separate makeup artist, depending on what the situation is. Weather contingencies, backup plans, having your preview or multiple previews depending on what direction you're wanting to go in, like if the first one went really well, good job. If you want to try something different, that's when you have another one. There's restocking your kit, sanitizing your kit, packing up, traveling to the venue, and sometimes I've driven up to 6 hours, like one way for a wedding before. Then there's unpacking, setting up, then you get to the actual meat and potatoes, like the service that you truly like booked us for, which is hair and makeup. And depending on how many you have in your wedding party, if you have a wedding party at all, that can take anywhere between 3 and 8 hours. And the 8 hours is with other artists helping out. Because this is not a get in, get out kind of situation over here. We do things intentionally. And wedding hair and makeup takes exponentially longer than a salon service ever will. Because when you think of going to get your hair and makeup done at a salon, you're thinking like, oh yay, birthday blowout. Let's go have someone do my brows and put on some lashes and do my lipstick and lip liner because I can't color the lines. It's not the same caliber of expectations. Like, depending on what goes on, what goes down when you're on your birthday outing, you kind of expect your lipstick to kind of be over here, maybe your lash lifting on the corner. I don't judge. Just do it, get up to whatever you want to do. But you wouldn't expect your birthday blowout or like high party pony to last for 24 hours. And if you do, that artist did a jam up job and you got your money's worth. But that's not what you walk in expecting. But when you book a bridal hair and makeup artist, you expect to look the same at 10 a.m. as you do at 10 p.m. Like, you want your hair to stay. You don't want them to have your lip liner or lipstick on your cheek, your lash stuck to the groom's forehead, whatever. That's disappointing, and you don't expect that out of an artist. And on top of all those things, we're also pretty much just managing your wedding morning. If there's a very high-strung bride, I'll take care of her. I will just kind of hey, I'll give her a task. I'll hand off your phone. I will keep your great Aunt Marie out of the getting ready suite. Like, I am there for you. But when I was in the salon, if you were coming in for just a blowout, nah, you get your hair done. That's it. On wedding days, there is so much emotional capacity that I carry on myself as a bridal artist that wouldn't have even occurred to me in a salon. If you think you talk to your regular hair stylist like a therapist, oh, the things I get told. The things I get told. I swear I need to go to therapy after every wedding. That's a huge mental toll that wedding artists go through that salon stylists and artists don't. Because I'm with you for 3+ hours. That's a lot of trauma dumping, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Please tell me. I want to know. That is the biggest differentiator, is that appointment starts when you get in that chair and it ends when you leave that chair. But when you're hiring a bridal artist, the work starts months, even years beforehand. Because I'm not just going to show up on your wedding and be like, tell me what you want, and then and leave. No, that's messed up. No, you deserve better. Your hairstylist, makeup artist, or whatnot, they will like set up and like prep themselves for your appointment. Usually that's making sure that the fresh cape, towel, disposables, everything's nice and clean and sanitized. That takes what, maybe 5-10 minutes? Not with bridal. The setup alone can take upwards of 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how much stuff your artist brings, how many orders there are, and the parameters that they have to work in. Don't get me started on that. In a salon, yes, there is a little bit of stuff on the back end as far as bookings and things go. Like, you'll see deposits occasionally, depending on how large a service your booking is. Maybe even a wait list, depending on how popular that artist is, stylist. But with bridal, there's so much on the back end that you don't see. You don't see contracts, you don't see vendor referrals, you don't see invoices, emails. There's timeline creation, managing your inventory. There's also product testing, which I feel like doesn't get talked about enough because it's so hard to find one product that does the one specific thing that you need it to do without disrupting or messing up the other products that you need that first product to work with. Can you tell I'm getting worked up about this? Because I am. I have spent months looking for this hairspray I used to use, and I can't bring myself to pay $20 for like 5 ounces of it. Because I'll go through at least a spray bottle per wedding. One per wedding. That's a lot. Whereas if I get a different kind of hairspray, it works pretty good. I do like it. It works just as well. But it is exponentially cheaper and there's more in there. And finding a replacement for my original hairspray was so hard. I literally looked for a solid year and tried other hairsprays for a year until I found one that was good enough to put in my kit. I'm not bringing trust. Like, seriously, like, check me out if I bring trust in my outdoor wedding. I'm not saying they don't have good products, because they do. But if you see me with the e.l.f. Halo Glow dupe crap, please get me evaluated. There is something that so many artists also don't talk about, and that's coordinating your assistant and your additional artists that you bring in with you. Because it's not realistic to expect one bridal artist to service a party of 8, 10, 12 for hair and makeup alone. My math can't even math how long that would actually take. You know what? Let's try. Yeah, we'll use round numbers. Let's say you have a wedding party of 9, or a wedding party of 10, and then you. So that's 11 people total. That's 22 services. That's a lot. Oh my gosh. But I like to allot 45 minutes per wedding party service, and then an hour and a half for each of the bride services. So that would be, you know what, we're calculating this. I'm not mathing right now. That is a total of 18 hours worth of services. No, we're bringing assistants for that. Assistants, additional artists, whatever you want to call them. But coordinating those is a lot of work on the back end. All the puzzle pieces have to come into place. You may have your dream team of artists that you love to work with, and unless y'all all have a shared calendar, it's almost impossible to have the same group of people every single time. Unless you want to bring them on as employees, and that's a horse of a different color. That's a whole nother story for another day. But it's really hard. I'm trying to not ramble here. But there's so many logistics with additional artists and bringing in other people, because you have to make sure that you actually trust those people and believe in the quality of work that they can deliver. Because if not, I'm not going to put my name behind that or be willing to be associated or even in cahoots or whatever with an artist that doesn't deliver quality work. There's also touch-up kits. And I used to actually create a touch-up kit for every single person getting a service. But let's be real. Your bridesmaids aren't going to keep up with that. Your bridesmaids, your bridesman, they're not going to keep up with that. But back when I did, I put like 13 different items in that touch-up kit. That's so much stuff. It took me a good hour to make them. And then I slowly transitioned to, bride only. That way I can use nicer products, higher quality, actually put in some skincare for you to use after your wedding, because you better take off your makeup. But there's time and effort that gets put into those. Like, yes, if you're a new client in a salon, they might give you like a new client welcome package. But how hard is that to actually put together? You put 2 products in a little gift bag. It's like a mini shampoo and a mini brush. Mini conditioner. That's not hard. But with bridal touch-up kits, you have to make sure you're putting in there products that last, things that won't disrupt what's already going on with your hair and your makeup and whatever. Tiny hairsprays, making custom lip colors, because it's not just what I'm mixing to put on your lips. I'm gonna have to make sure I mix enough to put in your little thing for when I go to leave you. And that's pretty much twice as many of the disposables as regular. That's not something that's really associated with the salon, because they can wash their bowls, they can wash their brushes, and they can wash their capes. We can't wash our disposables. There's also a very, very expensive portion on the back end that you don't see, especially with me, and that's the extension rentals. because they can cost upwards of $600 per set to purchase. Per set, $600. And then, I promise I'm not trying to sound mean, but you're out here wanting a $350 service with $600 hair in your head. That math does not math. I'm so sorry if I sound mean. Don't take it the wrong way. But no one's explained this to you before, and I can't be upset about it. Like, you don't know how much this hair costs that I'm putting in your head, but my point of this is for you to understand the value of what kind of service you're actually booking when you book with us. I put in hours communicating with other vendors that are, involved in your wedding day. Because your artist is most likely reaching out to the hair/makeup artist that they're working inside with on your wedding morning, your coordinator/planner, whatever, and your photographer. And I know planners work with so many more than that. Bless them, I could not do it. Props to those who do. But there's so much coordination that also goes in to making your timeline for your wedding morning. Because if you have to be ready, let's say your ceremony's at 4. Depending on if you're doing a first look or not, you have to be in your dress by 1 o'clock. In it. Not doing touch-ups. In your dress. Ready to see your sweetheart for the first time. Which means your hair and makeup needs to be done at 12:15 at the latest. And if there are, let's do this. Let's use the same math I did earlier. Let's say that there are 10 in your wedding party and you. And let's say that I bring along 2 other artists with me, which means there's 3 of us total. It's 18 hours worth of services that need to be done pretty much within a 5-6 hour time frame. That also goes back to the coordinating artist, making sure the artist that you're working with can actually keep up with the pacing that you're putting into the timeline. That's also why you see such early start times on your wedding hair and makeup, getting ready portion. I lost my train of thought. But let's say you've got your 10 in your wedding party, me and 2 artists. So if you have to be ready by 12:15, you're gonna start getting ready at 6:15 at the latest. Because that's just taking into account the time for these services, not the actual touch-ups and the buffer time. And somebody might have a mental breakdown in the corner. Somebody might have a panic attack, an anxiety attack, and I don't take those things lightly, trust me. But that is purely the time that's allowed for the services. That doesn't account, I gotta eat. You don't want falling out in the middle of your wedding day. I've gotta eat something. And I try to add a little bit of buffer time so I don't, my blood sugar don't plummet. But yeah, you gotta start early. And a lot of artists will charge an early start time. Because I've had a start time that was at 5 a.m. before. And it was only an hour drive from my house. So I had to leave my house at 4, which means I had to get up at, I think I got up at like 2:45, maybe 3. You don't expect your hairstylist or your regular makeup artist to get up at 2:45. That's a long day. Oh my gosh. It's a really long day. I've noticed a long time people think they're just hiring a hairstylist or a makeup artist or a hair and makeup artist. But you're not. You're not. Most of us are, in fact, business owners. And with that artist's beautiful work, they are also having to act as a CEO, an accountant, a social media manager, a marketing manager, scheduler, inventory manager, logistics, customer service, keeping up on their education, renewing their licenses. And then you also get an artist on top of that. Because our workday does not start and stop only when you see us. Because I put at least 20 hours of work into every single wedding, aside from, the actual wedding day. That's not counting travel. And can you imagine doing 20 plus hours of work for $350? Because let's do some more math. But yeah, can you imagine a business doing 20 hours of work, $350? And I did the math. It comes out to about $17 an hour. But that's not all of our take home. We get roughly half of that if they're, doing their books right. Which means that is just over minimum wage in South Carolina. That is $8.50 an hour. And a lot of us we're really passionate artists. I am. I love what I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe weddings and wedding hair and makeup and everything in between. But $8.50 an hour is not sustainable. You can't run a business like that. Now, I'll touch on that later. But people oftentimes, they just see their wedding hair and makeup as a service, but behind those services, they're running businesses, living, breathing businesses, and somebody's got to run them. And most of the time, it's the artist. Just to personally make sure my business is running sustainably and profitably, I built an actual, pricing calculator so I can actually determine what prices I need to charge to be able to support myself and for my business to make a profit. Because yes, while I love weddings and everything, this is a job. But inside of that calculator, I put in expenses. It helped me calculate hourly rate, travel rates, taxes. It gave me a cushion for that. The cost of an assistant. And I only take 1 wedding per day. And I'm not here to work every single day of the week, every weekend of the month. That's not realistic. That's not sustainable. Clearly that's the word of this video, sustainable. But let me grab my computer. I'm gonna show you. We're getting vulnerable here. This is like my actual prices. Ideally, I would like to work 40 weddings a year. And because I don't offer a la carte, because I'm not a salon, I have my wedding services in packages, and they're bride only with the wedding party being add-ons. And I actually have the hours that it takes to put into a wedding. And with my smallest package, that's 15, my mid is 17, and then my highest is gonna be 19 and a half. And let's be real, I always go over these. I always put in a little more than I am obligated to or contracted to. And I even put in a travel calculator just so I can make sure that that my travel fees are fair. Because I'm not going to be out here and I am not going to nickel and dime you per mile. I hate that. And I hate when I feel like I'm getting nitpicked for every single thing. And I actually include 2 hours round trip travel into my pricing. While that might look like we are rolling in the dough, you know, working weddings and all that, looking at our prices, you would think so. But we're not. We are hardworking people. And I know that's a gross generalization. But most of us are hardworking people, and we put our heart and love and everything into our craft, no matter what vendor type or category you're in. We do this because we love it. We don't do this for the money. And I really wish I had like a marker board or something, because I would show you the math that I'm getting ready to do. We'll put it on screen somewhere. I'll lean to the side. Looking at my, calculator. Let's say we're doing bride only at $350 per service. And that would be hair only or makeup only. To generate $80,000 worth of gross revenue, that would be 229 brides per year. There aren't 229 weekends. Even if you're working Saturday and Sunday, that's still not 229, that's only 104. That would put you working 4 days a week on a wedding. And that is so mentally and emotionally draining and exhausting, it's not even funny. And even if you did take more than one wedding a day, that's 4 to 5 weddings per weekend. That's a lot. And that's impossible, because I only take 1 wedding a day, because you deserve to be my sole focus and my only priority for the day. Let's say that it is hair and makeup together, which would bring the total to $700. That would, to get to $80,000 of revenue, that would be 114 brides. That would put me working more than every single weekend. Every single Saturday and Sunday, and then some. Again, that's impossible taking only 1 wedding a day. And I know weddings don't happen just only on the weekends, but there's a statistic chance that they are going to happen on the weekends. It's going to be higher. Now, let's say realistically, at $350 per service, it's the bride's hair and makeup, and then there are 6 bridesmaids that also want their hair and makeup done. That's going to bring the rough total to $1,650. And that's a lot closer to my pricing model and business model than the $350 alone. At the bride hair and makeup, then the bridesmaid hair and makeup, with that $1,650, it would take about 34 weddings to get to $80,000 gross revenue. And that's a lot more realistic and reasonable. Because you are more likely going to see a bride wanting hair and makeup and the wedding party. In my business, it wasn't built on just one singular service. Not just hair, and it's not just makeup. My service, my business was built on your entire wedding weekend. And I'm not saying that, hey, bride, you're wrong. I'm being like, hey, this is the math, and this is what supports me, my family, and my business. Because that $350 only, that's not going to support a full-time artist. Unless they have someone taking care of them, or they still live with their parents, or there's another financial situation going on. Now we're going to revisit the whole travel situation, because travel isn't just gas. It's not just miles. I personally experienced waking up at 3 o'clock, being in my car, going down the road at 5 a.m. to be in Somerville by... No, I left at 4:45. Yeah, I left at 4:45 to be in Somerville by 6:45 for the start time of 7 a.m. Getting up so early will take such a toll on your body. And my mom can attest to this. She was a surgical tech. She scrubbed for years. And she was often getting up at 4 and 5 a.m. She will tell you that that's what aged her pretty much the most, was getting up so early, working such long days. But yeah, it's waking up that early, loading up the car, making sure you're at the venue, at the right venue, parked in the right spot, not in anybody else's way, because we're always the first ones to leave. First ones to get there, first ones to leave. So we have to make sure we're not in the way, And the amount of times I've had to stop my services and move my car, even though I thought I wasn't in the way, not even funny. But there, we get this venue, you unload your car, and most of the time you go up steps. You go up steps. Oh, I hate stairs. Car's unloaded, you have to unpack your entire kit and set up. And sometimes, brides will put you in the bathroom, only to have a sink designed by a man to set up on, and the toilet lid. Or, you know, on a low couch and it's gonna wreck your back. So I always try to bring at least one folding table with me, which is another thing to load up and unload and set up and tear down. But even after that, you still have to get through the wedding morning itself with all the services that you've been booked for. And going back to my previous example, that is 6 hours of work straight. No breaks, nothing. And I've worked jobs where I've worked 6 hours straight, I promise. I'm not trying to sound like a spoiled brat. I'm saying what I'm saying because I've experienced all these things. And then you get home, and you unload, and then you clean your whole kit out. Yeah, my kit gets cleaned twice. After the wedding, and then before another wedding. So she's clean. But yeah, travel is not priced by miles. It's priced by the time it takes to get from point A to point B, because that is time that I could be doing other things to grow my business. And you know what? Let's circle back to that whole needle in a haystack comment, because that bride, she said, finding someone who could do Hollywood waves felt like finding a needle in a haystack. And I agree with her. It's hard to come across a tried and true Hollywood wave specialist. I do that. If you're looking for one, hey, hi, hello. But she wanted a highly specialized service at an unspecialized pricing. It would be like going to Great Clips and asking for a balayage from a master stylist. Like a balayage from Paul Mitchell or Vidal Sassoon himself. It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna find it there. And if you do find someone that claims that they can do Hollywood waves or X, Y, and Z, whatever you're looking for such a scary low price, there's a high chance you're not gonna get it. And if you do, it's because that artist has underpriced themselves and they are not fully confident in their skills. Please make them feel good about themselves if you get what you're actually looking for. But I don't want to tell you how long it took me to get truly good at Hollywood waves to the point where I was actually comfortable advertising them, because I don't know. I couldn't tell you if I wanted to. But I have spent hours on end and days and weeks just playing with Hollywood waves, perfecting my sculpted skin look, my editorial bridal makeup. I have put so much love and blood and sweat and tears into my craft because I've cut my finger trimming bangs before at weddings. So yes, blood and tears and sweat into my craft. I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice for not treating my skills like the specialty that they actually are. And if you come across someone that just does hair and makeup on the weekends, or if you come across someone that just does hair and makeup because they're good at it, or because you have an Aunt Sue, or your cousin's friend's neighbor does hair and makeup because she's good at it, alright, cool. If she's within your budget, please, by all means, go book. I'm not trying to sound mean. Because there's an artist out there for everybody, you have to be realistic about your budget and what you want. Because Pinterest has done a spectacular job. I love her to death, but she's done a spectacular job of giving brides the most unrealistic expectations, because there's photos on Pinterest and you've seen them. I think this Take the Cake podcast, I think they made a post a while back. I'll see if I can find it. If not, I'll just cut this part out. But they made a post back and it broke down the prices of those Pinterest images. And a small intimate wedding in Italy cost over $100,000. No, $120,000. A nice intimate ceremony in a backyard, $75,000. So you have to look at Pinterest through a special lens. What is this picture showing me that it's not telling me? Because the picture may be showing you gorgeous waves, but what that picture is also not telling you is that model has 2 sets of $600 extensions clipped into her head. And I'll use 2 clip-ins on my Hollywood wave brides. I don't settle for less than that. Because you're not going to get that look without 2 sets of clip-in extensions. That's what it's not telling you. What that Pinterest photo is showing you of the gorgeous table runner, they're not telling you that those are highly seasonal flowers that they had to fly in from somewhere. They spent $20,000 on florals alone. It's not telling you that. That model in the photo, or it's showing you beautiful makeup. That model in the photo is not telling you that that artist has been doing hair and makeup for 20 plus years, and they only work celebrity weddings, and that makeup costs 10 grand. It's not telling you that. So you have to use your critical thinking skills and be like, what am I seeing that it's not telling me, but I also need to know? You almost have to question what you're looking at as far as your inspiration photos go. And circling back to what I said in the beginning of the video, or she only expected to pay $350 and that was like top max. I questioned my pricing before she's even told me that. Which is why I built the calculator, which is why I actually know the math and I'm not just pulling a number out of thin air. Or that's because Howdy Doody down the road charges XYZ for the same service. Because her business expenses and upkeep and cost are going to be different than mine because it's a whole separate business. So you can't compare the two. I don't want to come across like I'm thinking that brides are undervaluing artists by any means. I know you will look good in your photos. I promise, I know you do. That's why I'm here to make you look good in your photos. It's that brides and artists are comparing two different things. Brides are using their previous knowledge, which is all they know. You can't blame them for that. I understand. I've been there. But they're using their previous knowledge against an artist's knowledge after years, even decades of being in the industry. With the expensive kits and the products and the knowledge and the training they put in. That's, like I said, that's like going to Great Clips and asking for Guy Tang to cut your hair. Or, I'm trying to think of other celebrity stylists, like Presley Poe. It's like going to Great Clips and wanting Presley Poe to give you a curly cut. You might be able to get a curly cut from Great Clips, but it's not going to look like Presley Poe's. And please go look up her work, it's stunning. And I'm literally sitting here telling you this because people can't value what they don't understand. I'll give an example. My dad's an electrician. And if you've had to hire a contractor for something, you'll understand it's astronomical. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't understand all of the back-end work that goes into being able to flip that light switch on. But there is conduit and insurance that you have to keep up with. Goodness, there's insurance. Story for another day. But we have insurance too. I'm going off on a tangent again. And time after time again, I sat there and questioned my own price. And I'm like, are brides actually going to be able to see the value in what I'm providing and be able to look beyond the price? Because I want my work to be able to stand out for itself. You're not just comparing me based on, oh, she's closer, it's $10 cheaper with her. She said she could knock off $10 per bridesmaid because it's a group discount. No. Please don't ask your artist that. It's actually more work the more people there are. But yes, I don't want to compete on price when my main selling point is a highly specialized service you get with me. Like, yes, you can hire a general contractor to, come put down some flooring. But if you hire a flooring specialist, they're bringing in all of their knowledge that that general contractor probably doesn't have. And with all that being said, I don't think brides are trying to... brides aren't trying to undervalue us. They're just comparing two different things. You can go on Amazon and order a $6, $7 mirror. Or you can put in time and effort and go thrifting, go to vintage shops, estate sales, and find the most beautiful antique mirror. They're going to do the same job. They're both going to show you the reflection. It's just understanding and respecting the fact that that antique mirror has gone through a lot more than that little $7 mirror has. And you might be able to put rhinestones on that $7 mirror, because I have. But it's not going to be the same piece of art or the same type of object as that antique mirror is. And I really hope I'm making sense. Maybe the question isn't, why does bridal hair and makeup cost more? The question should actually be, what changes the moment hair and makeup becomes part of one of the most important days of your life? And before we go, drop in the comments, what did you think bridal hair and makeup cost before watching all of this? Because I want to know. That's how I came across this initial conversation to begin with. It was because I asked the bride what her budget was and what she was looking to pay. I would love to hear your thoughts. Again, tell me in the comments. Give us a thumbs up. Share this with the bride you know. That way she doesn't get her heart broken when she finds an artist she loves but they're not in budget.